Ready.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick. How are you?
Oh, so good. I'm excited we're back at the Luau.
We are.
Credit to Luau Melbourne. If y'all have never been, this is where the long and short of it began. Nicole, do you want to tell the story? Why are
Yeah,
we here? What are
I'll
we doing?
start it. You jump in. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. We, as you know, Nick and Nick, we'll do some intros later. We often go to Melbourne for some work. And one night we landed, you and I said, Melbourne's famous for comedy nights. Why don't I try and find a comedy night for us to go to? And there I was innocently searching for a comedy night in Melbourne on my lovely Google. And you went on a completely different tangent, as you do.
You inspired me, really.
And you said, we should find a tiki bar. And I'm like, sure. It's called, it's not a comedy night. It's not where I started. It's not where this has started. But sure. Next thing you know, we're at Luau, Tiki Bar in Melbourne somewhere, which is where these,
Amazing.
yeah, amazing. Great cocktails, very, very strong cocktails. Not what's in here, by the way.
No. And we
And
proceeded to go, right? 3 nights in a row at the Luau. And not only 3 nights in a row, the last night we had 17 of our closest founders and followers joining us,
yeah,
getting HR advice in a tiki bar after a couple
yeah,
big drinks. And magic happened. It started to happen. People just told us everything, which is kind of cool. And I think we should continue that trend. Not
we should.
childhood trauma. That sometimes we get into that when we start talking to random strangers, but more so what's happening in your organization? What's the tea? And do we have any snippets of advice that could be helpful? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe just entertaining, but helpful is good too.
Yeah. And do it all while we're having a bit of a laugh and have some fun.
Yeah. So welcome to the luau and the long and short of it with Nick and Nick. So why don't we start with some like credibility? Because I can imagine someone logs in, sees these faces, these cups, this bar, this music, and they go, What am I watching?" I promise we have some experience behind us. So why don't we do some self intros and then something a bit of fun? Nick, you want to go
Yeah,
first?
sounds good. Happy to.
Great.
I'm Nick Carianis. I go by Nick or Nicole. I am a seasoned chief people officer, accredited executive coach, and I promise this will be the most boring part, the only boring part about this episode is my
Not boring at
background.
all. Here's my
It's
elevator
you.
pitch.
What have I done? I've worked in various sectors. I've worked in most recently startup, which is probably where we're going to center our lovely luau sessions on. I've had some fun building teams. I've had some not so fun shrinking teams. I have a master's degree in leadership, and I'm here to share everything that I know.
Ooh,
Over
I
to you,
love it.
Nick.
Great. I'm the other Nick. Most of my experience in startups and scale ups has been in America. So that's where I spent the greater part of the last decade. I started in corporate. I worked for Hilton Hotels. I wanted to be a tour guide when I grew up. Still do, kind of. We'll figure that out one day. But taught me about how organizations can grow into these very uninspiring places. And I thought, well,
Mhm.
does it have to be that way? Or can we make it better and create this thing called culture in a way that's sustainable?
Mhm.
And that made me really excited to think about different industries. I worked in advertising and we went through this whole period of working with startups. Brian Chesky came to speak from Airbnb. And I'm like, why am I working at this corporate place that's been here for 50 years? I should go work for someone like Brian. And that led me to startups where I've been for ever since, more than a decade. I know I look younger than that, but over 10 years now in startups and scale ups. But the past 2 years, I've been running my own consulting firm out of Sydney, working with US and Australian clients, which has been so fun. In fact, it's how I found you, Nick. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, now I do a lot of advisory, a lot of project work, and I feel like it's a whole new vibe of things I wish I would have done when I was in house, but that's okay. We live and we learn. So a bit about me. I have a chihuahua named Hot Sauce. So if Amazon or the mailman comes around during the session, you might hear him, but you will not see him because there are no dogs allowed in Luau, as far as I
Yes.
know. I might be making that up.
Yes. Oh, good point disclosing what pets are around. because we're not at Luau itself. We're actually at home in Sydney.
In
So we
case you
should,
know.
yeah, in case this was a surprise, I have a German shorthair pointer who's sleeping in the sun right now, and her bark is very loud. Her name's Cleo. So if you hear her, just a heads up, that's what's going on.
Yeah, Cleo and Hot Sauce, our favorite
Yeah.
pups. All right, so let's get into this for our first Luau no filter session. I
Yeah.
know you and I have talked many a times about founders. And for y'all who are on TikTok, you might have heard this like thing around body count. Nicole, I'm not going to ask you your body count, but I do want to know, what's your founder count? How many founders have you worked with? Really, co-founders, regular founders? How many?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I've only worked with 4 in-house,
Mm-hmm.
and I've lost count as consulting. I'm going to say over 20.
Okay, over
Mhm.
20, but 4 in-house, which I think
Mhm.
is where we get a lot of our war stories from, right?
Yeah.
Um, I have worked with, ooh, close to 7 in-house. Lots of co-founder
Oh, wow. You
situationships.
win.
Co-founder situationships. I've only had one sole founder over 3
Mhm.
startups, but then yeah, consulting, I couldn't tell you anymore. I've lost count, which is good. So I think that brings a lot of perspective for what we have to talk about. I'm curious because I have this debate a lot. What's the
Mhm.
right archetype of founder to work for? Is it someone who's done it before, or they're older, they have more life experience? It's their first time. They're coming from a Google. They have never run a business, but they're brilliant. I don't know. Are they all the same? What are your takes?
I mean, what do you think? I
Um,
have a take. I have a quick
yeah,
take,
let's hear your take.
and I think there's a podcast of me somewhere with this take, which is founders are all humans.
Mhm,
So I have a big take. I have a big beef, or I find it frustrating when founders or HR professionals or engineers, where everyone gets sort of stereotyped into their job title or into their role.
mhm.
I find that frustrating. So to
Why?
me, because I love the fact that people are individuals, right? So for
Mhm,
me, I'm a big and even just in terms of how I lead as a chief people officer, as a coach, I don't want us to lose sight of the individuality of the human being in front of you. And I don't want anyone speaking to a founder to be bringing to that conversation the fear or the awe or the whatever it is that makes you kind of judge that founder before you've had a chance to work with them.
Yep.
And so when you say, oh, that founder lacks EQ or is too young or too old or too this or too that,
Mhm,
is some of that already preconceived judgment in your mind? Or is
mhm.
that something that you're observing from the human being that is in front, who is in front of you?
Yeah,
That's where, yeah. So for me, I've enjoyed working with different founders. To go back to answering the question, you'll find that we'll go on tangents every now and
I
then.
love them.
It's our thing. It's our thing. I think for me, whether they have experience or not, whether they are older or younger, there's probably 2 pieces that I value a lot. Tackling something for the first time without a preconceived, this is how I'm going to do it because this is how I've done it in the past,
Mhm,
even if this is their second or third startup. And secondly, having respect for the industry that they're disrupting.
mhm,
That to me, I value, I feel that is very important in a great founder. If you're frustrated with an industry, which is why you want to disrupt it, I like do that, have that frustration drive you, but have respect for that industry as well. And I
mhm.
maybe because my background's healthcare,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, that's like I feel like you should respect that people are doing their best.
Mhm,
And so if you're going to disrupt that industry, do it from a place of respect and a place of constructive disruption rather than they don't know what they're doing over there. I'm going to come and turn their world upside down. And
Yeah.
that's what I've enjoyed. I've had those qualities in previous founders, which has been a privilege.
Yeah. That's
What
huge.
about you?
I would agree. Individuality. I can talk, I promise. It's huge. And I think we often bring our own biases to the table. I know I have past trauma. I'm like, oh, for, the person who knows the industry but has never led a company before, they're going to be
Mm,
great. And then I work with them. I'm like, no, there's so many issues here. And so I think so much of it is down to what you've said and then meeting them where they're at. I think if they are aware enough to be able to know where their strengths are and where they don't know what they don't know, that's a really great spot. Like, just speaking from a selfish lens of people, I've found the best founders to work for are ones who come to me and say, I know it's important. I have no idea what you do, but I want to set you up for success so that you can build what you need to build here. And I think that's been the highlight. And that doesn't really have an age or experience precursor that they have to meet to be that way. I think sometimes it comes from what they've experienced before. Maybe that's like a world-class startup and they've seen best in class and they know it's hard to build and they have empathy for it. Or they've been in really toxic environments and they're like, you know what? I don't want that. If we can avoid that at all costs, it'd be great. And so I do think it varies quite a bit, but I will say that it's not just a founder, it's the leadership team, because I've also had founders who are very people centric and amazing to work for, and then a leadership team who has very different values. And so it's hard to then feel supported by one person when you've got a group of people who maybe feel differently on a philosophical level. And so I look at it as a package deal. Who's that founder?
yeah.
Do they know what their strengths are and their opportunities are? And how have they scaffolded their own experiences with people who have similarly aligned values, but know their subject matter expertise in a way that no one else does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
love that.
but some founders, I'm like, you've ruined me for all other founders. I can't go in house again. Thanks a lot. But no, it's a good discussion. I think I'd be curious for people listening, like, what do you think? Are there certain founders that you found gel really well with the way that you've worked? What was the dynamic of the overall leadership team? And, if you had to construct kind of like Weird Science, not a girlfriend, but your perfect founder, what would it look like? Why not?
It's a good
So,
one. I would love to see those answers.
mhm.
Just to build on that, I think we're going to need more founders. If you think
Yes.
about the future of the world and where we're going, not to get too philosophical right
Mhm.
now, just in terms of our first luau, but we're going to need more startups. We're going to need more founders. We're going to need a different way of working if we want a better way of life.
Yeah.
And if we want to, in the best possible way, keep disrupting whatever it is that we need to disrupt to get a better life outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think what that means is we need to grow more founders and we need to attract more people to this founder life.
Yeah.
So there's a narrative between, founders work really long hours, founders are a special creative breed. That means you have to, they lack in this, and this. And this emphasis on like one or two or three traits or one or two or three qualities of life as a founder,
Mm-hmm.
whilst that is true to a degree,
Yeah.
there's an element of there's more to it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think as we go through these episodes, unpacking the different facets and aspects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the spicy,
Yeah.
to kind of hopefully make people want to be, don't turn people away from being a founder,
Yep.
and hope that, our daughter's watching this one day and with if they bring themselves to be able to see it and not go, oh my God, this is so
Cringe.
cringe.
Secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. He'll say that. All of them.
All of them. That's okay.
All four of them.
Um,
So if nothing else, four daughters between us, hopefully one of them is a founder or more than one.
Yep.
Um, you'd want them to go, yeah, I'm going to give this a go because it's exciting and it's great and I have the qualities to be that.
Yes.
Because I often think about if my daughters come to me and say they want to be a politician, I'd be like, no way. So like, don't turn them off. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's time for
we won't
things
talk
to
about
evolve.
politics. Yeah.
No. Yeah, caveat. I don't want to talk about
Other
politics.
than that, other than we don't want our daughters to be politicians.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about yours,
Agreed.
but I'm making that
Agreed.
decision for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. I
Yeah.
think, I especially women founders, just to carve that out as its own segment, I've heard
Mm,
from friends who have gone through some of the world's top incubator programs as a very small percentage of participants going,
mm,
is that what it takes? Because it's in direct conflict with what I want out of my life, being not just primary caregiver. You might not even be primary caregiver, but when you're hearing from other founders who've been there, done that, and they're saying
mhm.
it's 18-hour days, you're never going to see your family, be cool with that. Is that the way it has to be? I beg to differ. I've seen some founders that have held very strict boundaries for their personal life, and guess what? They're still married. I think there's a lot of
Hey.
founders who go through life changes and separations and divorces and executives as well, because that balancing act seems not achievable. And so, for anyone
Mm,
struggling with that, I think there's a lot to be said around boundary setting in a way that you can have both things, maybe not at the same time, but how do you
mm,
know when to calibrate so that you don't lose sight of what's important and why you're working to begin with,
yeah.
whether it's disrupting an industry or providing for your family, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's it. I
All right,
love it.
there's
We're
there's
just
a lot of heavity.
disrupted.
There's a lot of heavity to this levity of the luau bar. But I think it's a good starting place. And so, for those of you that found this interesting, a little bit different, join us next time. We will continue to have a variety of topics, whether you're a founder, woman in leadership, a leader of people, a people person, not in the traditional sense, but you work in the people space. Lots to come. So, Nick, this has been
Can't
fun.
wait.
Thank you for my
So
tiki
much
drink.
fun.
You don't need to go to Melbourne for a good tiki drink, so I appreciate you.
Another disclosure, just in case
Yes.
my dermatherapist is watching, which obviously she never will watch. This is water, not alcohol. I
Oh,
promise.
I'm not
I'm
going to
banned
comment.
from I'm banned from drinking.
Oh no, that's okay. You can have
And
mocktails too.
no
Mhm.
drinking and no chili for my
Well,
skin, for my facial
what
skin
about the
cancer.
chili eggs? For
I
those of
know.
you who don't know,
I mean, what's
sorry
the
about
point
that.
of living at this stage? Please do tell the chili
Okay,
egg
we'll end on
story.
this chili story and then we'll let you all go.
Go for it.
So, going back to Melbourne work events, Nicole and I are having breakfast, and everyone knows I'm a little bit weird American. I order cheese on my eggs. It's just a thing, it happens. But I make sure to specify cheddar or like feta or whatever. Nicole, being a great friend, goes down to breakfast. I'm running late, I'm in a meeting, and she goes, I got you. I ordered your cheese eggs. And I'm like, great. And they come out. She ordered the same thing. Chili, something with the accent. Can you say cheese and chili? I just want to
Cheese eggs.
chili eggs.
They heard chili eggs.
They are chili eggs. They were the spiciest eggs, but neither of us wanting to like give in or waste food as we believe strongly in, we sat and we powered through those chili eggs, sweat and all.
Yeah.
But now we can no longer go and order cheese eggs. It's like, can I get cheddar or Swiss? I don't care, just not chili. So, anyways,
And
always
now you do the ordering.
I do the ordering, and I'm
Yeah,
very
not me. I'm banned.
enunciate, my cheese. But no, it's good. And we always have random stories. So we will share those to keep you entertained. But join us next
Absolutely.
time on the long and short of it. Thanks, Nick.
Hope you had fun. Bye. Bye, Nick.
Bye.